it was all about honey, and how they're arguing that honey was probably the causative factor of our brains growing so big, because
Oh my gosh.
it's the most nutrient dense, is the most calorically dense substance. And my initial response was like, do you know what the word density means? You know,
I know.
it's
That's
calories
what I'm
per
talking about.
gram.
That's what I'm talking about. It's
Yeah,
like, just stay in your lane.
yeah, exactly.
You anthropologists, and in all seriousness, they were incredible scientists, and I was thrilled to meet them. But clearly, there's just this bit of a disconnect. I shouldn't say stay in your lane. That's part of the fun of academia. It's going out of your lane for a moment. But to make that kind of statement about honey,
Yeah.
look, I'm not trying to declare war on honey. I know that in the carnivore community, there are some very outspoken advocates. I think it's clear that our ancestors, our hunter-gatherers, it's clear that if people can get honey, they're going to love it. And they want to eat honey. But to then say that that was the like fundamental food in brain development, well, the brain isn't made of honey.
Yeah.
The brain is made of proteins and fats, especially a lot of fat.
Mm.
I mean, and you need these essential fats from meat in order to have sufficient brain growth. You don't get any of those from honey.
People obviously like the Inuits living in by the North Pole, or our ancestors coming through the ice ages, there was no honey, and there was no fruit. And so, I'm certainly in the other side of the camp where I'm saying, honey's actually really bad. It's bad for you. Fruit can be bad for you. Fructose, Dr. Lustig from UCSF has done yeoman's work showing just how harmful fructose is. But then some people say, well, in the context of honey and this, and fruit, maybe it works differently, and that may be true, but they haven't actually provided any evidence that it does. Getting a runner's high, getting your second wind. A lot of endurance athletes, and a lot of just athletes in general, have certainly heard about this, and some have experienced it, where you push yourself, you're exercising very, very hard, or you're running a great distance, and you eventually run out of energy. You hit the wall and you feel awful. You're just like, that's it, you're cashed out. Most people stop at this point, but then there are people that have push themselves and push themselves and push themselves, and then eventually they break through the wall, they get their second wind, and then they can just go forever, and they feel amazing. What I think is happening there biochemically is that they're in this hyperglycemic, insulin driven state, and so insulin is stopping your body from mobilizing your energy from your fat. And so you're going to have blood sugar, you're going to have liver glycogen and muscle glycogen that you're going to be running on, and especially if you carbo load, and that's why they do that. But eventually you're going to run out. This is a finite resource. Whereas in studies we've seen in wolves in 1981, because they said, you need to eat carbs or burn carbs, they said, well, wolves don't carbo load before they chase caribou for 10 hours. Do they even have blood sugar? Do they even have glycogen? They found out, yes, they do. And it's rock solid. It doesn't change. Their body's constantly replenishing it. And so when you're eating carbohydrates, exogenous carbohydrates, that's going to curtail that, and that's going to stop that process. And now you're going to run out of energy. And normally it takes something like 16 to 24 hours before your insulin comes down low enough that you can actually start producing more of your own energy. And that's usually it for everyone. But if you push yourself, I would imagine what's happening here is that you're actually forcing yourself to get back into a state where you can, mobilize ketones, make your blood sugar, make more liver glycogen, and then you just get into this runner's high, and this second wind,
steady state.